Hi folks, it's Bob from Mountain Crest Farm. Oh me, how y'all doing this morning? Today is a really nice day. It's going to be hot, clear blue sky, no clouds. And it's going to be hot, probably about 90, somewhere in there. But right now, it's cool, maybe 73 degrees. Humidity's a little bit up. I checked the humidity before I came out here, and weather station shows it as being about 80%. I don't think it's quite that high. I'm thinking low 70, high 60. Yesterday was nice. It was hot, but the humidity was like 36, 37%, which is unheard of around here this time of year. So yesterday was a pretty comfortable day. Wasn't bad out in the sun, and when you stepped in the shade, it wasn't hot at all. Oh. So, I want to talk to y'all today about, I'm sitting here huffing and puffing. I guess this is an appropriate lead-in, because today I want to talk about fatigue, getting tired. Particularly homesteading. This is in coffee chat, but hopefully some of my homesteading buddies will see this too. Two kinds of fatigue related to homesteading. There's other fatigues, but related to homesteading, there's two kinds of fatigue. You can get physically tired. I mean, homesteading is wearing a lot of hats. I mean, it's depending on just exactly what you do in your own particular brand of homesteading, because after all, homesteading to me just encompasses a self-sufficient lifestyle, as self-sufficient as you can possibly make your own life. That's homesteading. I don't care what you're doing. So there are different genres of homesteading, I guess, that all fall under that. But depending on which one you pick, you can have to wear a lot of hats. What I choose to do here, I've got to be a pig farmer. I've got a market garden, so I've got to be able to grow things. We get by on very small income around here and still live like kings as far as I'm concerned. But to do that requires me to be a mechanic. I don't take my chainsaws to the shop to get fixed when they need fixing. I'll fix them myself. My four-wheeler, which, by the way, I happen to consider, there's two tools I've got that are, for homesteading, the most critical tools you can have. And I'll do a video on this one of these days, but the two most critical tools you can have on a homestead is an ATV or a UTV. Either one. I have an ATV and I like it for hilly wooded areas. And a chainsaw. They will save you so much time and effort, it's not even funny. Can you get by without them? Yeah. Would I want to get by without them? Before I had I've had a chainsaw the whole time I've been here. But before I had the ATV, I didn't think I needed one. And then I got an ATV, put a winch on the front of it, and now I couldn't live without it. But anyway, you've got to wear a lot of hats, because I keep my chainsaw and my ATV up. I don't take very much to somebody else to be repaired. Now, it helps that I've got a friend right down the road who is a good mechanic, and he can help me out on some stuff when it's a little bit beyond me. And mostly what's beyond me are modern cars with computers. They started putting computers on cars. I think I had a very rudimentary computer on my 1989 Dodge pickup truck. It had computer controlled throttle body fuel injection, I believe. But here in the last 10, 12, 15 years, everything on a car. Mechanically, I'm a parts changer now. For all these new computer controlled cars, I'm a parts changer. You tell me what's wrong, I'll put the new part on it. But figuring out what's wrong with the computers and everything, that's beyond me, and Dave helps me out with that. But you have to wear a lot of hats. You have to be able to do a lot of stuff, and not only be able to do it, you have to do it. Homesteading's hard work, and you can get physically tired. And sometimes you just have to say, okay, that's enough. Maybe because of the heat, maybe just because of a long day, but you got to be smart enough to say, that's enough. You go inside and you relax a little bit. You make sure you get enough sleep. I'm up 4:30, 5:30 every morning, but I'm not up till midnight, 1 o'clock like I used to be. I'm quite often in bed by 9. So physical tiredness is real easy to solve. You just get some rest. The other kind of fatigue I'm talking about is mental fatigue. Specifically mental fatigue as it relates to homesteading. I'm not talking about mental fatigue from personal issues or anything like that. I'm talking about mental fatigue as it relates to living a self-sufficient lifestyle, which is hard work. All those skills I was just talking about. You can't just know how to do them. You have to actually do them. And that takes effort. Shoot, just walking through my pig pen. My pigs don't cause me any problems except for they get in my way sometimes. Try pushing your way through. Right now I've got I got a boar. I've got 5 sows that I've used to breed, 4 of which have babies right now. And I've got 1 barrow. That's a boar that doesn't have his boar parts anymore. That's growing him out for my son. My son doesn't have enough property to raise a pig, so I've got one that's about ready to go to the slaughterhouse that's his. You try pushing through there, because you have to push through them sometimes. If they're where they want to be, they're going to stay there. Can you imagine trying to push past 900 pounds of solid muscle? Because that's what my boar is. There's hard work involved in homesteading. Today, my piglets are getting out. They're causing problems for one jerk neighbor down the road, and they're not causing problems for the neighbor. The neighbor's just complaining because that's what she does. So I got to get my fence back working today. Work on my microgreens greenhouse today. Oh God, the firewood issue is still sitting there. I've got to get firewood laid in for the winter. I'm way late now. That was going to be my day today until fencing for my piglets came in. But you just get, and it's repetitive. Everything is repetitive. All the firewood I cut this year, next year it's turn around and do it again. 6 cords for the winter. Feeding pigs every day. Taking care of whatever you're growing every day. Harvesting whatever you're growing every day. Somebody's either setting off fireworks or they're shooting off a little bit this morning. Sounds like fireworks to me. But everything that you do is hard work and makes you tired, and it's repetitive, and it makes you mentally tired. And you get to the point where I've got to go do that again. And then again. And then again. And you get mentally tired. No matter how much you like what you're doing, no matter how much you like the big picture, homesteading, being self-sufficient, the individual little things that you've got to do get old because you have to do them over and over and over again. I don't know why that's different from a regular job, but it is. On a regular job, you have to do the same thing over and over. If you work in a factory and you're on an assembly line, you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's not mentally fatiguing, though. I don't know what it is about homesteading. Maybe it's that you're doing it for yourself. Maybe that you're doing all this and not getting an actual paycheck on Friday. I don't know what it is, but the repetitiveness is mentally fatiguing. And I've got a solution for that. Just like when you're physically fatigued, you go get some rest. You stop, you go inside, you get in the cool, you have a cold drink, my drink of choice being Switchel, 1850s version of Gatorade. But it's exactly the opposite on mental fatigue. When you get tired, when you look around and say, oh, I've got to go do that again, quit what you're doing right there. Take a short break. and go do some more. Work even harder and work doing the same thing, but do it somewhere else. You don't see a lot of them, but there are a lot of homesteader types that are succeeding to great or small degrees all over this country. I've got people that watch this video in Wyoming. I've got people that watch these videos in Idaho. I've got people that watch these videos up and down the East Coast. There's actually homesteader types up and down the East Coast. Florida, Alabama, Texas. I've got people that watch from all those places. Go find one. Go find one that's got a particular job that can be a one-man job, because most homesteaders are one-man operations. Okay, this is going to be sexist. Most of them are one man and their wife. And I'm sorry, but call me a sexist pig. I don't care. There are men's jobs and there are women's jobs. I don't expect my wife to get out and help me build fence, because that's a man's job. And I do some of what's called women's work because she works a job off the farm, and she shouldn't have to come home and cook supper, so I try to have supper, things like that. But for the most part, there's men's jobs and there's women's jobs. And somewhere you've got a homesteader close to you that's basically a one-man operation. And he can do it one man. There's not a thing on this place that I need another person to help me do. But there's things I could stand a hand every now and then. Well, you know what? Everybody else doing this is in the same situation. Everybody else is mostly a one-man job, at least for the heavy stuff. And they can do it on their own. But go help them. Stay in contact. Well, how do I know who needs help? You stay in contact with people. Most of the people that I know that do this, besides them watching my videos or me watching their videos, where we would know after the fact, we stay in contact. I've got most of their emails. They have my email. We keep up with what's going on with each other besides what we see on videos. Go help one of them. When you got a friend that's 50 miles away and you are tired of building fence, you were building fence last week because you totally changed the layout of your pasture and you needed to do some new fencing, and last week you just killed yourself building new fence. You don't want to see a fence. You're burnt out. You're mentally burnt out on fence. And you're mentally burnt out on homesteading in general. Go to that neighbor 50 miles away that's building fence and help him build some fence. The fact that you're building fence won't bother you a bit. The fact that you're helping somebody, the fact that you're doing like we used to do in this country, that's mentally rejuvenating. You might have been building fence, and you might have thought you were done building fence for the next 10 years. You were so tired of what you had to do last year, but you won't be tired of helping him build his fence. You won't be tired of helping him put up a greenhouse. Whatever it is you go help him do, you won't be tired of it because you're helping him do it. You're doing what this country was built on. This country was built on self-sufficiency. Even in the cities, they had to be a lot more self-sufficient than they are now. And there weren't many cities. And it was built on community. Even when you're self-sufficient, that doesn't mean that you are totally stand-alone, don't need anybody, anything forever. It means you do as much as you can to take care of yourself. But then there's community. We've lost that. Do you know your neighbor's name? Have you ever had your neighbor have a sick child where they're having to spend a lot of time at the hospital for a few days, or a death in the family? Did you fix something to eat? I don't mean go buy a bucket of chicken from Kentucky Fried and take it to them either. Did you fix them a good, healthy, home-cooked meal? Maybe a casserole, and take it to them? when they had a project, did you go over and help them with the project? Without being asked, because people are too prideful these days. They won't ask for help. I have a hard problem with that, even though I know exactly what I'm saying right here. I have a hard problem asking for help. But we've lost community. And I don't mean just in working and doing things. I mean we've lost community totally anyway. Do they still have barn dances where you live? At the community center or at some guy's barn? Not around here. Nona Grace might live in one area. Mary Grace. Nona Grace is her channel. Mary Grace is her name. And she is one sweet lady. And she lives up in an area, you know, us Southerners like to make fun of Yankees. She actually lives in an area where there might still be barn dances or community house dances or square dances. She lives in a small town in western New York. And they might still have that there. I don't know. We don't hear. I'm in the South. The South is full of Baptist churches. I don't happen to be a Baptist, but everywhere you go in the South, you see a Baptist church. And unless it's in a county church, you know, like First Baptist Church of Jasper here, I hadn't seen it there. But you get out and drive in the country. I've got a little church, oh, it might be a mile and a half down the road. A little white frame church. The church you think of when you think of a country Southern church. And it's got a graveyard right by it, because most Baptist churches had their own graveyard. And it's got a shed, not real wide, maybe 12 feet wide, about 50, 60 feet long, with a row of picnic tables down the middle of it. Dinner on the grounds, usually once a month, sometimes less often, sometimes more often. There would be fellowship after church. It was called Dinner on the Grounds. It was everybody in the church bringing a covered dish. Some people, you know, the people in church had a little bit more money, or maybe that raised livestock, would bring some food, and there'd be corn casserole. Oh my God, I love corn casserole. You've heard me talk about Frances, my mother-in-law that just died about a month ago. Best corn casserole in the world. But there'd be squash casserole and green beans and crowder peas and ham. Somebody usually brought a ham and some fried chicken. Dinner on the grounds. You're not in church, you're at the church, but you're not in church. And it's not for preaching once somebody has finished saying the blessing. We're not here for preaching, it's just for fellowship. Community. One thing I do know that they have up around where Mary Grace lives, she lives in an area that has some Amish. I don't think it's quite as much Amish as there is up in northeastern Ohio and Pennsylvania, but they've got some Amish in her area, and then there's the Amish in northeastern Ohio and Pennsylvania. God doesn't go out and build a new barn when he needs one. Number one, they don't need to build a new barn very often. They need to build a barn, but not a new barn. And what I mean by that is the barn that's been in the family for years is going to stand for years, because when they built it good. That's the first thing. So when a son gets married and gets his own place, that's when you have to have a barn raising. Son didn't get out there and build a barn on his own, and that son is coming in and making it hazy right up in there. It's really looking hazy. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to step over here, and I'm going to turn my camera this way, and it's still going to be hazy. So let me step over here a little bit farther and turn my camera a little bit farther. Trying to get rid of this haze. There we go. Haze is gone. Got a lot of light on the side of my face, but the haze is gone. Little swallow of coffee. But that boy didn't build his own barn. He and his daddy didn't. And he and his daddy and brothers didn't build his new barn. The community did. They had barn raisings. Kind of like Dinner on the Grounds. All the women would bring food and all the men would bring muscle. And some of the men would know how to build a barn, and the rest of the men would know how to follow instructions. And they'd get a barn up, and they'd get it up pretty quick too. And the barn didn't cost much to build. You got to provide your materials, but the community would provide the labor. Now it's harder to do that now than it used to be. Primarily, yes, I'm going to go here. Primarily because of government. Used to be if you needed a barn, you built a barn. Now it's you need a barn, so you get some plans that the county will approve and turn those plans in to get a building permit, and then the barn has to be inspected at certain stages of progress, which means you can only build it Monday through Friday because you got to have an inspection before you can do the next thing. And if you do something on Saturday and don't get it inspected, and then do something later on Saturday afternoon because you couldn't get an inspector out there, you're going to have to go back and undo what you did. So a lot of it's because of government, but a lot of it's because we've just lost a sense of community. I don't know why. I don't know where it went. I know where some went. Some moved to the cities. And there's no community in cities. The tighter you cram people together, the less community there is. You get an apartment complex or an apartment building, a high-rise in New York City, the tighter those people are together, the less likely they are to know their neighbor's name. And that's the truth. I may not know everybody within a mile of me, but you can point at any house and I can tell you who lives there. I can tell you their name. I can tell you if they're an older person that might need some help in the winter with firewood. I can tell you if they've got a handicapped person in the house, and when the power goes out, they need to be checked on because they got some medical equipment that runs on electricity and don't have a generator. I can pretty much tell you everybody within a mile of me. And that's not far enough. I should be able to tell you everybody that lives within 2 or 3 miles of me, but I don't. We've lost the community and we need to get it back. We really need to get it back. And one way to build community is when you're tired, go be a neighbor. When you're mentally fatigued, go find somebody that needs some help and be a good neighbor. That's not the only time to be a good neighbor, but it is a good time to be a good neighbor. It helps you recharge your mental batteries to get why, and I can even tell you why. This might not be making sense that building fence can help you get over the fact you were mentally tired of building fence. It's rejuvenating because it gets you outside of yourself. Homesteading can be kind of isolating. It's a great thing to do, but it can be kind of isolating. And when you go help somebody, you get outside yourself. All of a sudden, it's not you. It's y'all. And when y'all, pick any group of y'all you want to, when y'all do things, it's good for you mentally. So y'all go have an awesome day. Always have an awesome day. And if you have an awesome day, it's going to be because the tomb was empty and because he is alive. So, hit the little thumbs up down there. Hit the little subscribe button down there. Hit the little bell so you get notifications every time. And go have that awesome day. I'll see you next time. Bye.